Hey everyone, it's Adam here, and I know we've all heard a lot of crazy trading stories online, but this might be the craziest one I've ever heard, and it didn't even happen online, it happened just down the street from me. This isn't one of those videos with somebody driving around in a Lambo or trying to sell you something. Thomas isn't selling anything, I'm not selling anything. This is just a great story for some inspiration, and maybe you can take some lessons from it. So here's Thomas, who's a laid-back guy, in his own words, on a day that he's going to remember forever, and a day where he turned $200 into $190,000 in just 4 hours. Okay, so I'm here with Thomas today, and this is the craziest story I've really heard in a long time about trading. And the insane thing is that Thomas is my neighbor, more or less. He lives just down the street from me, and I'm friends with Thomas's dad, and he came to me about a month ago and said, Adam, I know you're into trading. I don't know much about it, but my son Thomas came and he made $250,000. And it was, I don't know how he did it. And it was, he basically took very little money, turned it into $250,000. And he told me, for starters, about how you called him up. So kind of before we get into the trade, tell me about how that sort of moment of picking up the phone and calling your dad.
Well, I was just driving home from work, and I tried to call him on Highway 28 on the way home, about half an hour away, and then didn't pick up. And he said he was just in the Tim Hortons parking lot when I called him the second time. He picked up and then didn't believe me. And then when the night came, he finally believed me.
So take me through the conversation. Kind of, you want
to... Basically, it was just, Dad, I just made so much money. I made $190,000 US off this amount of money, $200, and obviously he didn't believe me.
What did he say?
There's no way. That's not possible. There's no possibly way that happened.
That's great. And at this, was this sort of dawning on you at the same time? Like, when did it first? So you made this trade from $200 to $190,000 US, and at what moment did it really sink in for you?
I don't know, probably about the $50,000 mark. I kind of saw it, and then it started to build, and then I kind of felt sick at the 190, so then that's when I pulled out, but then it didn't really hit me until I was driving, after I hung up with my dad.
Right, so you're doing this all at work?
Yeah, so, yeah. But it didn't hit me until on the highway, just driving, staring off into space.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, clutching the wheel, nice and tight. Just want to get home safe, get my money.
Like something bad's going to happen?
Yeah, it's kind of like when a lottery winner gets a winning ticket. They just want to cash it in before they lose it.
Okay, good. Well, we're going to get to the trade itself, but first I want to go back to the start. So at this point you've been trading just over a year and a half. Okay, and just take me out to let's go right back to the beginning. Why did you start trading? What was it? I mean, it must have been even before that something clicked, or
when I started trading, it was a terrible thought, but it was a get-rich-quick scheme when I started, right? Because all the internet and all the advertisements and so forth is get this much money real fast in a couple hours, and then obviously I blew accounts. I think I've blown 4 or 5 accounts now, and then. That's when I started to trade fake money accounts, practice over the time, and then here I am.
So I first really met you, we started to talk about trading. It was about a year ago, and you were looking into automated strategies then. And how, so you started out with that, and what was the sort of the thought process there?
Easier. Simple way out, right?
Right.
Didn't work, long story short.
And you spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I spent probably about 3-4 months on that, building expert advisors for automated trading and so forth, and testing them, back testing them, which doesn't really help a whole lot because it can predict it and so forth, but long story short, didn't work.
Didn't work. And so then you got to trade in real money around that time?
Yeah, just a couple months after that when I started to get a little more confident, or a little less confident, kind of giving up on everything and just throw some money in, see what happens.
Right. And so at this point, it's what kind of trader do you become now? It's technical discretionary?
Scalper. When I see it,
Okay.
I hit it, and then I pull out as soon as possible.
So you're waiting for setups,
Yeah, pretty well.
basically.
I was mainly trading USJPY.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
trading FX, just looking more or
Yeah.
less, just looking
Just
for
pairs
volatility.
itself, volatility, yeah.
Okay, so you're trading just FX at this point.
Yeah.
One pair, which is not a bad way to start out because you kind of get the feel of one thing.
A higher volume pair, one of the more popular ones, I figured.
Right, okay. And so now you put in money. What was the first deposit you made?
700 US, which was 1,000 Canadian at the time, which lost that,
How long did that take?
I think 3-4 days.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what was that like?
It hurt.
Of course.
It hurt at the time. Now it doesn't really. Learning process, learning curve.
Now, did you like at the time was you were kind of out, or you obviously didn't end up giving up, but
Yeah, I didn't give up. I kind of kept going. Perseverance.
okay,
You know, if you keep trying, try until you fail. And
right. And what sort of mistakes were you making? I mean, and you did this a series of times, right?
Yeah, so I was getting a little overconfident. I wouldn't take the profit when the profit was good enough. I would hope for more. I would chase the market, and I would just overall overextend myself. I would have leverage of 1 to 2,000. Brokerage offered it, so I took it.
Okay, so this is like a consistent theme, right? Where you are, you're not afraid of leverage at all.
Yeah. Oh God, no. If you know how to use it, risk management to me, it's just a number.
Right, but the
Easier
risk
money.
management was
Yeah.
sort of tougher than.
It was tough because I didn't really research it at the time,
Right.
and I didn't practice it.
So, all right, so this sort of goes on and on, right? This is sort of the same pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just vicious circle for quite a while for all those accounts that I had.
Right, and then sort of the pandemic starts to hit. Did something change for you then, or did like your interest or?
I'm trying to think. Not necessarily. No, just stayed the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
and now you start to see a lot more volatility, right?
Yeah, 100%. Instead of like 0.23 on the ATR, it was at like 3.0 or something like that. And then that's when I started to make really big scalp trades.
Okay.
And then I would blow the account again because I would be overextended.
And what about, okay, back up and tell us a bit sort of where you ended up in terms of the technicals that you're looking at and like what's on your chart.
So really I just have Bollinger Bands. I think it's the simple, what is it? It's one with the green dots. I forget what it's called. Oh well, that one I forget entirely, but it's not really relevant. And then I use SMAs. I use 3. I had a 15, a 5, and a 20 point, I think.
Okay.
One's exponential and the rest are just regular. And then I also use just the ATR at the bottom, just to kind of see what the trade ratio is. And at least to me, that's what I thought it was.
Right. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
And so you're using those to manage risk, find entries.
Yeah, just kind of give me an idea where a good entry point is and so forth. And that's what I settled on for all my indicators.
And so what is your trading frequency like? It's sort of around the time, that, at least around this time. How many trades would you be making a month or a day?
A day, probably 30 a day.
Okay, so you're
Yeah.
pretty actively trading.
Really trying to get the money in, really trying to get the experience. Again, not really managing the risk.
Well, at least you
Yeah.
were getting a lot of trade. You were
Yeah.
blowing up a $200 account on one trade. At least
Yeah,
you got some value out of it, at least
Yeah.
in terms of experience.
took my time, figured it out.
Okay. All right, so let's go back now. So that day this happened, April 21st, right? You're 19 years old. You just turned 20. And take me back to that day, and you just, I guess, a week before, blown out an account.
Yeah. So basically, I just got a notification on my phone saying that oil went negative a couple days prior. And then maybe, I think it was the day prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when the contract before expired. And then I was like, okay. Well, I told my parents, saw that. And when I was at work, I was watching the charts, saw oil start to go down. So then I was like, all right, let's jump on it. So I deposited $200 real fast.
So you had like an instant deposit,
Yeah, yeah.
like a credit card, I guess, or something
Yeah,
like that?
so I just used my credit card, deposited that, and then hopped on the trend.
All right, so now tell us. So you work in a factory but you're able to trade sort of at work. You work the night shift, and so we're here in near Toronto, but this is sort of early European session for the most part. I guess into Asia and then into the start of Europe.
Asian, kind of into European, in around that time, kind of when big push and big movements start to happen.
Right. So you've never traded oil before.
No.
All right. So you make your first trade, and how big of a trade is it at first?
0.01 to see the cost of the lots. Cause I didn't know how much a lot would cost or all that, and then I figured out the risk that I could use and so forth, and how much risk it worked.
Right.
Yeah.
So and at the same time you were a little bit long dollar CAD, I guess, on the same.
Yeah.
trade?
So I was online before. I even deposited the $200 to see what was in correlation with oil, and it was US CAD was kind of in correlation with it, because when the US dollar goes up, oil goes down, or vice versa. But basically I used the trades opposite of what I was selling oil.
Great. And okay, so now, so this is, and to explain, the whole trade takes place over less than 4 hours. Yeah. Right. So you're $200 and you go to 190,000 in less than 4 hours. And so you sort of dabble at first, right?
Yeah. So I got into a point where I entered my first trade, it started to go down, started to dip, and it was a sell. And then it went above the sell, and at that point, to me, it was only a $200 account. I blew my account not like just before this, and I just gave up. So I shut my phone screen off. I threw my phone away. And
you thought you were about to get stopped out?
Yeah, I thought that I was going to get stopped out. My account was going to blow out, and I was done for the night.
Okay.
And then I threw my phone over, went over, did some work, and then came back. I saw it, and it was positive, like $10. So on a 0.01 lot, that's pretty good. So then I was like, okay, here's the volatility. So then I started to just roll with it and just keep going in.
And so the basis of this trade is it was all oil, and as oil fell, you would get more margin available in your account, and you just kept.
Yeah.
So explain that.
So as soon as I would go positive, or like I would place a 0.01 trade, 0.01 lot, and then it would give me $10 profit. I would take that and whatever left I had, equity in the account, I would throw back into another sell trade, a little bit bigger, and then I would hedge the two trades that I had, take the profit, throw it back into another sell, and then I would just basically hedge my account and keep going.
You just kept hammering on the offer all the way down.
And it would grow and grow, and the lot size would keep growing as I kept getting bigger and bigger.
Right. And so, all right, we'll go through we'll look at the video and we'll kind of talk through it. But it's just before, so what's your sort of thought process as you're selling oil, and it's $200 is $400, and so on and so on.
Yeah. Go big or go home. I didn't have much to lose. At the end of the day, it was just $200. So it wouldn't have really put a big dent in my life. It was just $200 loss at that point.
Right. Yeah. But I guess a lot of people have taken a $200 account, turned it to $400 or whatever, $600, $2,000 is a pretty good accomplishment in and of itself.
Yeah.
But what was in your mind what was your mindset kind of going into the day? Because that's the real magic of this trade, is that you kept adding to it, and you were obviously in the right mind space to do that.
I got a good sleep. I think I got 9 hours of sleep, which going into a midnight shift is amazing. Could stay up the whole night. I was happy. I had a coffee beside me. I was in a good mood, basically.
Right. And this is all on your phone?
Yes. Yeah. I don't like trading on a computer.
Okay.
Yeah. Too many things happening at once.
Okay. Well, that's good. There's a little bit of a lesson in that, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep all right.
Focused on the one thing.
And when we look through it, you're switching between the chart. You're looking at basically just the one candle. This is right candles all the way down.
Yeah, just to make sure that it's not pulling back up into a green candle.
Right.
Which would have been pretty bad.
And so the trade, you were just selling oil, and larger size. And eventually you get to, it was like 160 lots.
Yeah, it was too many that anyone should be trading. Unless you have massive, massive amounts of equity.
Right. But at this point, you're just feeling very
Over cocky, really.
right.
Once I got to a certain point, because I wanted to get out of the night with $1,000 profit, and then once it passed the 1,000, it was 5, 10, 20. At that point, you just kind of kept going, and it was just, why not keep going, see what I can do.
Okay. And we're gonna watch it, and really the bulk of the games from 20,000 to 190 is in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And what is sort of what's going through your mind? Does time just slow down? I think at this point, or
I think it's sped up.
okay.
Honestly, yeah, because I was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. As soon as I got just enough equity in the account or margin, I placed a trade. As soon as that time came. No time in between that, basically.
So there was just not a lot of thinking, and you weren't, you wouldn't even have time to see the account balance.
Yeah, no, it wasn't, I didn't look at the account balance. I would just go to place a trade and then hit sell, and it said not enough margin. I'd back out, do it again, back out, do it again until it let me place the trade. And then I would keep doing the same thing over and over again. Yeah.
And I guess a lot of the people who you hear about who are able to manage large trades, they don't think about the money so much as you think about it like points on a pinball machine or in a video.
It's just numbers at that point, basically.
And that's sort of where other days I'm sure you're thinking about the money.
Yeah, well, I was happy with $1,000. So really anything above that, like I said, it was $200 account, so it didn't matter much. And past 1,000 was just extra money. It was just numbers. So
that's just how it felt in that moment, right? You weren't able to step back and say a $20,000, because that's what most people watching you. That's sort of the magic of what happened is most people at 1,000, which was their goal, or 2 or 20,000,
they
say,
backed out.
"Hey, listen, that's 20 grand. Mm-hmm. Let's party time."
Yeah. They'd take the money and they'd go out and then they'd put it back in on a different day, take their profits, right? Cut their losses if it came. But no.
Was it just the day, or was it something about how you're feeling?
I don't know. It's probably just the day. Right. I don't know if I'd do it again. Well, yeah.
And what would you say to someone who was trying to do it? What sort of mindset would you want them to put themselves in?
You got to get excited. You got to really hope for it and just watch it, and you have to be getting excited as you watch the numbers grow and the chart go your way.
And being willing to bet big.
Yeah, be willing to bet big, high risk, and just not a care in the world.
Can't be afraid of losing it, right?
Can't be afraid of losing the money. If you need that money for a car payment, don't use it. If it's just extra cash lying around, so it doesn't matter if you lose it.
Great. So we'll get it. We'll go into the trade here in a second. And now take me to sort of getting out of it now. So you hit almost 200,000 US dollars. And then you start to see it go. And now the full oil move here on the day that we're talking about was $5-6, right? Yeah. When you were trading it. And in this time, I think it eventually fell a lot more.
Yeah, when I was sleeping after the midnight shift.
You managed to go to sleep.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It's still pretty amazing you were able to sleep after that.
Could have caught the second drop, but needed sleep.
And so, at what point did you go from, okay, just keep pushing it, to, was it when the candle started to go against you, or what happened to make you get out?
Something clicked. I don't know. I say it's kind of luck that I pulled out, really. Kind of luck and just a gut instinct. But once I saw the candles kind of start to fight a little more, come back up, that's when I said, okay, it's probably time to pull out. And then...
And you closed everything out?
Yeah, so through the trades that I was placing, I was closing smaller trades, so my trade numbers would go up and then down. But then towards the end, I would start to close the biggest trades that I had to get the most out, obviously.
Okay, and I guess why was it about oil this day? You just saw the volatility in the market, and what about the short side? Because I know a lot of retail traders, when oil went negative, they were piling into oil longs.
Yeah, I don't really like going long. I like to sell. I don't know. Going long, it kind of makes me feel uneasy because I know everything has to fall. Everything has to come down at some point. It's like a ball. If you throw it up, it's going to come down. So I knew with oil, it was going to come down.
Okay. And it was just that confidence that...
It was the confidence that made me a little cocky through the trades.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you were right. And Okay, so now you zero everything out. And how you, it took you a few minutes to get out of the trades, right?
Yeah, so I think
You
it was,
had how many,
yeah.
over a dozen trades open?
And it was like 5 to 10 seconds for each trade to even process the closing. So I would swipe, hit close, and I'd be sitting there grinding my teeth. Then it would close, and I'd close the next one.
Right.
And that was a couple minute process, having to close them all, which was painful because as the candles were going up, I was losing just that little amount of money on top.
Right, but you closed out large trades first
Yeah,
at least.
that,
So.
as long as you close the large ones out first, the .01 lots, they don't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that point, they sure, even though you almost got stopped out
Yeah,
30 minutes into the trade
yeah,
on a
Which-
.1 lot. .01.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so now you finish this. It obviously sinks in at some point. Maybe tell your girlfriend, whoever.
Yeah.
Then you've got a million questions.
Yeah.
And what are you telling them?
Well, really, it was only my girlfriend that had questions, just like, how'd you do it, and so forth. And then no one else really had any questions.
And they're just in disbelief?
Yeah, no one believed me at the time. No one said that that's possible. Everyone said it's impossible. And there's no way that I was able to do that. And then you came along. And yeah.
That's how we go. And okay, so now, so what was the sort of the next steps? Now your mom told me a story. The next day she gave you $200.
Yeah, so that one was a gamble. The $200 the next day, that was literally just, let's see if the market follows the trend. And it didn't the next day, unfortunately, but
Lost
yeah.
mom's $200.
Lost mom's $200.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, she wasn't too happy about that.
Hey, we were hot.
Yeah, she lost 200. I put 1,000 in of my own just to see if I could keep the money rolling.
Yeah. Well,
Didn't.
But at least you didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
so how? Okay, so now let's skip ahead a bit. You take out what the bulk of what you can.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Who's your broker, by the way?
FBS.
Right. And how was that?
It's good. They've never done me wrong in any aspect.
Great.
Works for me.
Great. And you like you were able to get the leverage.
Yep.
Platform worked well.
Yep.
Good. And so now you're going through this process of withdrawing these large amounts, and,
Yes.
you need to. Did you take out the vast majority of it?
Yeah, so I took out all of it at once because I'd rather not leave money in an account because I would probably risk it again and possibly blow the account. But I took it all out. It took, I think, a day to process all of my transfers in total. And yeah.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always that feeling of a trader. Okay, I'm going to make
Yeah.
$250,000, and then I'm not going to be able to get my money out
Yeah.
somehow. So
It's that nerve-wracking moment.
it's
Yeah.
not really your money till it hits your bank account,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And then how would that feel when now it's in your account?
Yeah.
Now it's really real?
Well, it didn't hit the account at one point. I got a call from the bank, and when I got the call, the banker said, "Are you expecting this transfer? It seems a little large into your account. Like, you've never really had over $1,000.
You're poor.
You're poor. You shouldn't have this." And then I was like, "Yes, I'm expecting that." And then that's when my heart was just filled with joy.
Because you knew.
I knew that it was real, and I had the money.
And the bank had it.
Yeah.
Great. That's a great feeling. All right, so now, what's next for you? I mean, you haven't stopped trading?
Yeah, so...
And this is to be clear to everyone, this is about 2 months ago.
Yeah, so I stopped for a bit, but I would dabble in it. I would trade every once in a while, and then I would stop, and then I would start. And then I just took the vast majority of my money, and I put it into big stocks, like ETFs, Amazon, stuff like that will just keep growing. Tech giants that won't really get stopped out.
And okay, so how are you feeling now?
Relaxed.
Yeah, like what's the change in you? Like, a lot of people say there's no change between sort of 2 months ago and now.
Well, I could sit by the pool, and obviously I'll feel guilty if I miss work, but I could miss work if I wanted, but I just live my regular life. It doesn't
still
change
going
anything.
To work, still watching the market,
Yep.
as much.
Wake up at the same times. Just didn't really change a whole lot.
I think maybe there's some lesson in that kind of from the outset, right? That if
Yeah.
you're not necessarily looking for.
Well, it's the same as Warren Buffett. He does the same thing every morning that he has for years and years. It doesn't really change you as a person necessarily, unless you let it.
Right. And you just have some opportunities.
Yeah, you just get extra opportunities on your plate. That's all.
And you bought a bike.
Yes, yeah.
The one thing you bought?
The one thing I bought just to build my credit, because money without credit is nothing.
That's the magic of money, isn't it?
Yes.
Borrowed money is much better than your own.
Yes, it helps your credit. And
So got a new motorcycle.
new motorcycle, looking at getting a newish car, just have a little fun with it.
Okay, good. All right, let's take a little break and then we'll talk and we'll go through the chart itself. All right, so back here, I'm here with Thomas, my neighbor who turned $200 into $190,000, and we're gonna show about 5 minutes, and this looks like it's at 5:08
a.m. Yeah.
5:08 a.m. That's Eastern time.
Yeah.
And you'll see this account. So this picks up now to set it up. You're up to you started with $200.
Yeah.
You're up to $21,000 here. It was an incredible accomplishment at this point.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I started to record it. Because other people needed to see it because they wouldn't have believed it.
They wouldn't have. And if we see, let's bring up it's not a great shot of it, but you can see this. I guess this is the lead into it. And this shows sort of where you start out. And these are every trade.
Yeah.
And it's basically sell, sell, sell. This is a chart of oil all the way down. So there's one there. And then I guess this shows a little bit earlier maybe. It's around. So you took a couple screenshots as you were doing it. Is that?
Yeah. So it just kind of shows progressively how many trades I placed.
And so this is when you're looking at your screen now. What are we? So this you have an ATR here.
Mm-hmm.
Bollinger Band, some moving averages on there.
Moving averages and the green dots are the parabolic SAR.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. And so you're trying to manage some risk. Are you seeing a setup or?
I see when it hits it. I know more than likely it's going to bounce back.
So this is around when you started to sell. Am I reading this right?
Right about there, yeah.
Okay, and then we get sort of right at the top of that. So you are kind of on this little bit of upswing in oil.
Yeah. So I placed a sell, but then it started to go up somewhere in there, and then that's when it came back down.
Right. You almost got stopped out at the start.
Yeah.
All right. So then we sort of skip ahead. I've got a couple extra other charts here. It basically shows the video starting right around, I think it's around here. And then, you know, when you scale out, so this is the time the bottom fell out of oil. And you tell people about this trade, they tend to think it was the day that oil went negative, but it was the day after, and it was on the April contract went negative, right? Yeah. And this is on the May, and it's sort of there. And if we go out, I don't know if there's like a daily chart here I have. So this was the chart going negative. I'll zoom that in. And that was the last days of the April trade. Yeah. And then you're really the last day of the April contract, but you're on the May contract. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was on the next contract.
Yeah, all right. So this kind of shows it too. This is around when your first trades were, maybe a bit earlier than this, and then the kind of video starts and catches
the main
part here, the early part of it. Okay, so let's kind of go into the video now, and just to set it up. You can see on these sell size, there's very small trades at 0.03 of a lot, and earlier it was 0.01 of a lot. Yeah. And it's not even showing them all here, but you can see you've built some positive.
Average ain't faded, no static. I'm busting, He might be an addict. He drinking and trusting. He know where you live, where you work, and you trust him.
Gambino. The music helps with the mood and the confidence.
Nice. So you're listening to some hip hop. You got the earphones on. You're at work. And now you just see the speed of what's happening here. And we're going to pause it, I guess, along the way. All right, so what's happening here? You're watching. You close the trade there? Is that what
yeah, so I would have closed that trade there. And I just placed the first 3 lot, I think it was at that point. And that's where it started to pull back. But I just kept going because the candles just kept dropping and dropping.
And so you're up to, okay, so you're changing the size of the lot here. You go from 3 to 4.
Yep.
You sell that, you wait, find out if there was enough margin in the account.
And
okay, successful. And now it keeps ticking lower and
then as soon as it would let me place even a bigger.
So okay, now you're up to 6 again, and you go on, you narrate it.
Yep. And it kept going. It would pull back ever so often, and then I would just place another one, close out some trades if I had to get some extra equity in the account.
So you're closing out some trades here?
Yeah, so if I had to get a little more equity to place a couple more sells, I would do that. But even it just jumped from 20 to 40.
Right. So you see up at the top there now, it's at 40,000.
Yeah.
And you're not even noticing this really at this point? Or
No, it's really just kind of worried about that it's going to pull back at this point. And that's why I started to close some of those trades to get the balance up so that I would be able to place more sells in case it did go down.
And now you go back and you try to... This is
Yeah.
when you really...
This is when I knew it was going to drop. Just my gut told me.
Okay, I just want to pause it right there as you kind of scroll up and down and bring it back, because it shows... These are sort of all the open trades you have, and I think there's about a 10 on the screen here. And then as you scroll down, you can see these 1, 2, 3 lots, and so you're all in massive profit with all of these. But you're going as a 3 lot, and then we scroll down, and now you're into 4, 6, 10 lots. And you're a little bit underwater in these, I guess, but that's
because I placed
10 lot is what 1 cent is $100.
Yeah, that was the spread on that. It was pretty. Yeah.
And then instantly, even as we were watching it, went positive there.
Yeah.
So you're sitting at $7.17 now. Oil is just in a couple minutes down.
Yeah. And then the chart really starts to take another hit here after that 10 lot. So
now there's no level you're really watching here.
No, it's just if it goes down, I go with it.
And was that another 10 lot? I think you saw
Yeah,
a series of 10s here.
3 10s. And then it wouldn't let me place that 10. Oh no, it did.
And so this is all in real time now. You saw it tick up to 80,000.
Yeah.
Your phone is attached to a charger?
Yeah. I was going to die. I was scared it was going to die, and I would lose everything.
On 3G.
Yep. Not even 4G LTE.
And so now at this point, you're about to cross $100,000. You're still selling here.
Yes.
And you can see just briefly there, if I bring it back, how many lots we're up to there. So you have 10, 10, 10, 10. So the 5 of those here now. So now you're up, and we're down to another 50 cents down in oil, or 60 cents just since you started hammering the offer again. Did you close out something there?
Yeah. Just to get an extra bounce in the equity, so I was sure that I could pull out extra money.
And now that was just a 20?
Yeah.
You managed to sell a 20 lot there. And that count just hit 148 to now 143,000.
I tried to place another 20. At this point, I was trying to trade so fast that it wasn't doing anything. Because it started to pull back, and it just,
So we're sitting at 160, and it's still falling here, oil. So you really caught this one huge candle from 17 to 15. You just sold another 20 lot, and that's sort of where the video ends. What happened? The video ends, you run out of...
it wouldn't let me record anymore, and then,
So what happens next? How do you get out of the trade? Let me bring back... So there was a little pop, I guess. If I kind of zoom it in here, it starts to come back against you here.
Yeah. So that was right about when I was driving home. I left work early because I felt sick after.
No, but you closed all these out.
Yeah. So right before I left, I was starting to close them out, and it was about a 3-4 minute process because it was a couple seconds for every trade I had to close because of a delay. But I was able to get out, lost a couple $1,000s on top because of the candles going up. But
you start to get really nervous at this point.
Yeah. Once it starts to go up, you start to sweat because you have $190,000 on the table being handed to you, and they're just slowly pulling it away.
So what was the net when you got out?
It was like 185, 86.
And you closed it all out, everything,
Yeah.
even the dollar CAD trade.
Everything, yeah.
Okay. Great. And then and this is right at the end of your workday?
No, I wasn't even done work yet.
You left work?
I left work, yeah. I told my boss that I just made $190,000, and he said, "Okay, go home. Why are you still here?" So
that was all he said?
Yep. So I just walked away, went in my car, drove home. Still had my safety glasses on, earplugs in. I was just driving.
That's great. That's great. Okay. Well, thanks so much for telling us an amazing story. You know, maybe we'll check back in with you in the future and see how it all unfolds. But
see if I got lucky again.
Well, I mean, listen, when if we talk about the lessons of it all, it's yeah. I mean, you were picking the right instrument to trade. You were looking for volatility, right?
Yeah.
And you went into something you'd never traded before.
Exactly. That's the risk.
And you were following the trend, which was negative at the time. You weren't afraid to bet big on something that you were confident in, even if it was just in that moment.
Yep. If you think it's going to do it, then go with it. Trust your gut.
And you got out at the right time.
Yeah, that I think was a little lucky on my part.
Okay. And when you look at the chart, you say, okay, then an hour later, or not even an hour later, maybe a half hour later, it fell another $5.
Yeah, that was when I was sleeping.
Does that?
Yeah, that kind of hurt me, but because if I would have left some of the trades in, I would have got even more. But I got it.
Right, you could always.
I got my money.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can always.
No complaints.
No complaints. All right. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
No problem.